So Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into robotics and kind of the, what areas have you been really focused on over the last 4 or 5 years of robotics?
Sure. So I started in robotics as a high school student, and this was with First Robotics back in 2001. And First Robotics was the main educational robotics area for all students back at that time. Uh, and it's expanded a lot over the years, but First Robotics is still pretty similar to what it was back 20 plus years ago. And now there's quite a number of different competitions for high school and middle school robotics areas. So it's expanded greatly. There's even elementary robotics as well. But here today we are doing ROBOTICA. So we have combat robots, and we have them for all age groups. So if you look at way over on the side, we have kids as young as 6 years old driving very small combat robots, and then we have adults that are well past their retirement driving very large combat robots. So this is a different level for all ages, but it's a lot of fun, and I think they enjoy competing against each other regardless of how old you are. So it's a good setup. We'll probably have some matches later on today in the big arena, and we definitely will have lots of matches in the smaller arena coming up. You see a lot of these teams, they're testing robots right now. What happens over time is things just start to fall apart, and it takes time to rebuild, and over 2 days there's been a lot of rebuilding happening here in these big arenas and in different areas. But yeah, that's a quick background on educational robotics. What else do you have, Dave?
Well, I'll tell a little bit about myself. So me and Andrew got together probably about 6-7 years ago, and we started doing the Houston Maker Faire. And so that's how we got connected. And then through doing the Houston Maker Faire, Andrew was our robotics guy. He organized our robotics. I focused on all the maker spaces and getting the rest of the folks to participate in our events. We did the Comic Palooza Makerspace. We did that for a number of years before COVID hit. And then this is the first big event post-COVID where I came up with a brilliant idea to do Robotica. And so the reason for that is because about a year and a half ago we were trying to figure out what can we do in the middle of the pandemic. And so we came up with, we had built a small arena for the Maker Faire. And so we said, well, I'll find a spot where we can do it outdoors, and we'll host events outdoors and do all the stuff we need to do to keep everyone safe. So we run our events out of EPO Houston's parking lot. And so that's where I first got involved in these combat robots. And Ian McMahon, who is down at the other end, was kind of helped me organize it. He built our arenas, so we progressed. And then I had a brilliant idea about 6-7 months ago to say, we need to do a big event. And so I signed myself up to put Robotica on for everyone here. So, I'm glad it's successful. I appreciate all you coming to attend and check it out. But this has been kind of a culmination of many years of Andrew and I and the team working together to kind of expand STEAM education, inspire kids to get involved in those technical skills, whether it's programming, engineering, science, math, and Ian, maybe talk a little bit about some of that stuff.
Sure, yeah, I think the really exciting part about what's happening here is that we do have a lot of educational kits that to show you how to build combat robots. And so if you look in some of these other areas over there, you'll see these educational kits that are just something you can build in a few hours. And we've put together a few workshops where students can take this kit with almost no knowledge of robotics, and within the end of the day they have a functioning combat robot. And I think that's really a big part of how we've grown this community in Houston, the Houston area combat robots, as we call it, the hacker community. So it's pretty important, and I think that's really what's going to drive the community and drive a lot of these smaller events. This is obviously a much larger event with much bigger robots, but if you go further over, you'll see the smaller robots, and this is a pretty common level event that we put on every few months here in the Houston area. And we're really trying to grow the robotics community, and Robotica is a big part of that, but so is just these smaller robots and doing kits, doing workshops. So if you have questions about that later on, come up and talk to us. We'll tell you about the kits, how long it takes to build a robot, just the overall process of building, and something, you really don't need any knowledge to get started in this. We can show you guys how to build a robot in a few hours and be ready to compete in these smaller tournaments, not in the big arena, but at least get the feel for how it works and kind of teach people more about the robotics community here in Houston.
Yeah, and the important thing about the kits and the way we designed them is they're all 3D printed, so you get access to the STL files to reprint them at home or to print your own designs. But the important thing about the class is we're teaching them how to solder, how to connect the motors and the speed controller, and then how to connect the remote control to the receiver so that they can actually control it, and how to adjust the controller. So all these skills that are needed to kind of get over that initial hump of getting involved in electronics. Because as you can see, these bots, this is rapid building, right? Every time they go into a match, they're back there rebuilding it, repairing it, trying to figure out how to make it work with whatever stuff they have at their disposal. So it's very valuable skills. And you're probably noticing there's some bots starting to show up here in the arena. That'll be the next presentation. So if you want to gather around for that as well, we'll transition to that there shortly. This is the Texas RoboMasters, which is the next level competition that they'll be up here talking about shortly.
So we got my presentation.
Yeah, I mean, Robotica and getting into robotics takes a little bit of effort, but it's really worthwhile for a lot of younger kids to understand how to do electronics, how to do some programming, how mechanical systems work. So what I tell a lot of parents that are trying to get their kids more excited about technology and engineering is robotics is a good gateway. Just the buzzword of robotics gets a lot of kids in the door, gets people excited, and then the after effect is you're going to learn more about technology, programming, engineering, things that don't sound as exciting, that a kid doesn't jump up and say, engineering, that sounds great. But it all kind of goes together, and these sort of events really help us celebrate what engineering and technology and programming can do when it comes together in this robotic arena. So it's important to remember that we want to get kids excited, and hopefully when you see all these robots here today, you'll want to have that next step of what am I going to do? How are we going to get more into robotics and teach my kids more about robotics? So definitely come find us if you want to talk more. We can give you some background on our kits, our community, how you can get plugged into our community, and help grow Houston into one of the robotics capitals of the world.
Yeah, I think one other area that people forget about when we're talking about STEAM, well, I call it STEAM because I like the arts part of it, and the reason for that is because a lot of these bots got really creative, right? So there's a whole artistic aspect of it that it's an expression of someone's of their thoughts and ideas and what they want to create. Like Orly, the turtle bot, and you've seen all the designs of some of these bots. They're all themed around someone's passions or ideas, and so it's very important to cross-learn all those skills to be able to be successful, and to be able to express yourself in ways that are beneficial to everyone.
So normally in this big arena, it's a combat robot arena where two robots go head to head. But what you're about to see here is actually a RoboMasters robot, and it's a slightly different setup where they have some shooting weapons that launch projectiles, and they usually work together with a lot of programming to achieve a task. So we call them more task-based robots instead of combat robots. But they're still very neat and a lot of fun to watch in action. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more going on here in a moment. They're getting everything set up.
Oh, really? Oh, that'd be awesome. Okay, yeah. I'm actually going to be helping robots over here.
But if you have any questions, come find us. We'll talk more details about the RoboMasters. They actually have a booth further over, and you can talk to them about their robots. You can see the robots up close and personal. But right now, we're actually going to close the door and get this started so everyone can see what's happening.
Sid,
He'll be me for this. Oh, okay. I can go up there and sit.
you almost ready? Okay. All right. So they'll be ready in a few minutes. So we'll just keep talking here while they get set up. So does anyone have any questions about robotics, about Robotica, about any of the things, the arenas, the bots, educational opportunities? If you have any questions, come on over here. We'll give you the mic and you can ask your question.
Yeah, one thing I'll note as we're going through this, I know it's a lot to take in, but this big arena, we have a few different weight classes going on today. So we have the biggest weight class is 250 pounds. So that is the maximum weight that a robot can have in that class. And then we also have the 30 pound and 12 pound weight classes going on in these big arenas. And that's a big jump between 250 pounds and 30 pounds. So you'll see a huge difference between those types of robots. But if you go further on, we have even smaller weight classes. So we have 3 pound robots, we have 1 pound robots, and all the way down to the 150 gram. So it's a huge variety between weight classes of robots and different type of combat. Obviously, it takes a lot more money and effort to make the larger robots, but a lot of the basics and details of the robots are the same. So we're about to get started here with this RoboMasters. I think they are just tuning the robots for the show. They've got the door closed, and hopefully we'll let them start up here in a moment.